Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to continue this lovely series of conversation with Engel and Völkers advisors. And today I get to welcome Haven to the conversation. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, and for just being you. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Haven O'Halloran, and I joined Engel Völkers about 6 months ago.
I know.
So very excited to be here and bring who I am to the table.
Yes, I love that. And so let's get right into it because when
Yes.
you joined, I joined.
Yes.
So as a licensed partner, a shop manager, it was like by some miracle that I didn't get to sign your ICA because we literally came on board at the same time and we immediately connected because we were both like, what is happening? Let's learn everything.
Yes.
Such an awesome brand, so much opportunity, but a big wave, right? Like to take a new endeavor on. What caused that for you to make that shift from where you were to Engel and Völkers?
Oh, gosh. I think for me, it was really trying to be in a space where the growth was going to happen. What I found in the last year is every time I went to the people around me, which was the office I was in previously, and the response would overwhelmingly be, everybody's slow.
Yeah.
Everything, it's a shifting market. So the reason was that this was an environment that I wasn't going to be able to change.
Yeah.
I think ultimately is how they were making it feel when they would respond that way. And I wanted to be in the room with people who said, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
How do you want to move forward?
Yeah.
And how can we help you do that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love about these conversations is that there's this idea or this sort of like way of thinking that I grew up with. And I feel like it's the idea of that if it's true for me, it's true for you, it's true for us, for them, for all, right? So then you're thinking, what we're talking about are really just principles around business and service. And if you are building your own business as a real estate agent and you are in an environment where curiosity and possibility are not a value, then you're going to run into unnecessary blocks.
Right.
And so I love that you said that this is different, right, for us. And that's a little bit of how I came into the ecosystem as well.
Okay.
What is possible here? What can we do? How can we build the Sonoma County shops up and have our advisors be just really proud to be part of a solid, not just brand, but community.
Yes.
And you live and work in this community.
I do.
But you didn't always live and work in this community. So
That's
what
right.
brought you to Sonoma County?
Yeah. I grew my business initially in Marin County because that is where I went to high school. That's where I got married. That's where I raised my children. And we were one of those COVID families that decided in the middle of COVID a move would be great.
Oh, wow.
And it really happened.
Right.
We were renovating our kitchen, something we really wanted to do for a long time. And it wasn't becoming the vision that we thought it would be, but it was very unspoken. It was very subtle. It wasn't, oh, we can't raise the roof. Oh, we can't put in gas without a laborious process with the HOA. We should get out of here. It wasn't that obtuse. It was very doing the next thing. And actually I was showing real estate in Rohnert Park and telling my husband about the wonderful new builds that were happening. And although it didn't quite capture our picture of having a beautiful yard, it was something for us to consider. And he actually found the development that we found. And it wasn't in Rohnert Park, it was in Cotati. And he said, I think we should go check these out. The next day, I was already going to show houses in the area. So I said, let's go. I'll book you an appointment before my other appointments. I really put on my realtor hat with him because I felt like this was probably a decision he would, and he was obviously initiating the decision. And so we immediately fell in love. In 4 days, we were in contract on the house. We went to our contractor and I said, remember when I told you didn't have to rush to get our kitchen done? now you have to rush and get our kitchen done
Yeah.
because we've just put an offer in on a house and now we want to sell this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
In just that little bit of a description, I feel like your whole personality just comes through. You're very intuitive. You are somebody who really pays attention to the nuance of what's being said and what's not being said, the things
Yes.
between the lines. And then you're also incredibly decisive. You just go for it. So what does that look like for your clients in the work that you do? And I'm not talking about the transaction. I'm really talking about the experience that you create.
I always tell my clients that I am a method realtor.
Okay.
And so what that means, much like Johnny Depp is a method actor, and so when he took on a role, he would not just eat the food that his character ate while on set or for acting purposes. He would go home and start living and breathing that character. What I offer my clients is that when they tell me, Haven, this is what I really want. I really want to be able to have my adult child continue to live with me, but I need to do it in a way. How do I make this work? Can there be an ADU, or just how is the layout of the home going to make it so a 26-year-old can continue to live with me? I take that on and live it and believe it for them so that we can find that home.
That's amazing. This is absolutely wonderful because, and you are so deliberate in how you approach your business. And I think that's what is where we're kindred, right?
Yes.
It's the idea at Engel Völkers is to have advisors who own their book of business. And as a licensed partner and manager, that's what I bring to them and remind them of that. I don't know if this is true for everyone out there, but I do think if you are a real estate advisor, this isn't just what you do, it's an expression of who you are. It's your craft. One ought to be able to know that you did that, and remember you for the things you've done, because a transaction is self-explanatory often, as in the paperwork.
Yeah.
But everything else that goes with it is just a mark of your expertise, your ability, your emotional intelligence, your actual experience. So when you bring that to your clients, bet that they walk away feeling like, I've been seen, I got exceptional service, I got what I wanted, even if I had to overcome some things that weren't so fun or were difficult. So when you think of your ideal client, the person that you love to work with most as an archetype, who is this person?
I value communication. I have a high value on communication. And so I would say it's somebody who is truly communicating the truth in what it is they want out of their real estate transaction.
Yeah.
I don't know what type that is.
Yeah. So
I just know that's a skill maybe that I would look for in a great client, is someone who, when they say to me, I've got to sell this property fast, they really mean it. Or if they say to me, I've got lots of time to get the right price or right number on this house, they really mean it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a discovery. Maybe we're establishing the right communication, but that would be one of the things I would want from an ideal client is clear communication and that they know what they're trying to communicate.
And I think you're touching on something that I think most listeners would say, yeah, that seems so self-explanatory. But it's also one of the biggest complaints about service providers in general and real estate agents specifically, that their marketing is better than their execution. And that's saying a lot because most realtors don't have great marketing. Really thinking about communication being a cornerstone of what actually makes a good experience happen. While it may seem super simple, it's a really basic but difficult thing to achieve, because I think in the way of having good communication means you actually communicate. It's one of those things. What creates good communication is communicating. So you have to ask a lot of good questions.
That's right.
And do the thing that you are so good at, which is that listening between the lines.
Yes. What is the real question that's being asked? And one of the things that I do with my buyers especially, but I'll do it with sellers as well, is give them a list of definitions.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And
Like
that's-
actual word definitions.
Yeah, of different things in real estate.
That's
because
amazing.
It doesn't matter that somebody owns a home. If they haven't bought a home in 10 years, they might forget the difference between deposit and down payment. Always where they get hung up. Wait, what's my deposit amount, down payment amount? Is that deposit amount part of the down payment? And not that I want to get into a technical conversation, but here and now, but it really helps them to be able to see the definition of each of little pieces so that when I call them and I say, let me walk you through what this contract reads so that you know what the expectations are when we sign it or when we submit it. There's no you're not getting blindsided that you didn't realize the deposit was due in 3 days, or you don't have a panic attack because you confused deposit with down payment and now you think you have to put your down payment down in 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's important.
In a real estate transaction specifically, there are so many nuances, and I don't think a lot of listeners would even know this, because the players in the arena of a transaction, there are quite a few players, the most prominent ones being the realtor and the lender. But even at that, having good communication, understanding the transaction, understanding the flow, the definition of words, I love that you're doing that for your clients. I am reminded of my very first home purchase in California. I was a very young mom with 2 little girls. I was very motivated to get into this home, and English is my second language. My realtor told me that something was possible, and I took that as probable and made all manner of decisions.
Yes.
Because I really didn't, to me, I didn't look up the word possible. What is possible? To me, it was a license to, and we pulled everything together at the end. But it always makes me smile, because what you do on your end in shepherding and guiding all of these players, ultimately the client, is a lot. It's like a theater that you're running. Well,
and there's rules of conduct, right, as well. So I love do you think that we could order a refrigerator and have it delivered? And what if it gets delivered before we've closed escrow? I love that question.
Yes.
Do you think we could do that? And I always say I've got a short answer, and then we can discuss the long answer. And the short answer is no.
Yeah. And
pretty simple.
And it's pretty simple. But you know how nobody wants to be told no.
That's right.
Especially when they're going through a very emotional time. And when it's interesting what happens when we buy a home. It's very interesting what happens when we sell a home. Because you just described it when you and John found your home. 4 days, done, calling the contractor. You need to speed it up. We're going. You owned it before it was yours to, you had closed the paperwork and the transaction on it. And that's what happens to our clients. They begin to own the vision, and the wants, needs, and desires explode. And so, why wouldn't you be able to put a refrigerator into a house that you don't yet own? I don't understand.
And while I might be buying a house for $1.2 million, I'm really focused on this $1,500 refrigerator that I just ordered.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Yes. Reasonable and unreasonable expectation management, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is what you do amongst all the other things that then you also get to do.
Yeah.
What led you into real estate? Because you could have done a million things, right?
Absolutely.
So why real estate?
I've always been in sales in one way or another. My parents owned little kiosks on military bases, and they even had a retail establishment at a flea market in Hawaii, which people hear flea market and they think gross, unused stuff. This was where all the tourists went to buy all of their souvenirs.
Actual market.
Yes. Yeah. A well-oiled machine and just a lovely place for people to go. So that was where I got my early experience. And then I went into owning a retail store at one point, and then I was a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics. And when I looked at the skill set of what I had developed through all those years of being in sales, being in customer service, so I did a few other customer service jobs, like on the phone, credit card person answering the phone for a credit card company when people would have questions, and a rubber stamp company too. I took all of that and I thought, where else could I put this? Because I don't really want to learn a whole new set of skills. I just want to make more money And I want to have the continued flexibility that I always have had as a salesperson and as a business owner. And I went to John's aunt, who had an over 20-year career in Los Gatos at the time, because it's already been 10 years that I've been in real estate. At the time, 20-year career. And I went to her and I said, I'd like to do an informational interview about your job.
Naturally. Yes. Like one does. Yes.
And John came with me actually because it was in Los Gatos. And we sat down and we had a conversation, and she tried to say all these things that were supposed to scare me. And I said, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And she said, Haven, I have been waiting for this day to happen. All those years ago, when I watched you build your Mary Kay business, I kept hoping that you would come to the other side and do real estate. And so that's what ultimately made my decision.
That's
was
amazing.
Knowing that I had a skill set that could be applied to something else and still have the freedoms that I was already experiencing.
What I love about your answer is that it pops every soap bubble out there about the assumption of why realtors are realtors.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think there's just this, there's a false assumption that the money's great
Yeah.
and it's easy and
Right.
you don't have to do all that much. And my friend Sally or Sal
Yeah.
they're doing it and they're doing good, and so I'll just give it a go. You went at it from a point of view of it is a business.
Yes.
It will be your business.
Yes.
Which means it's an expression of who you are,
Yeah.
because it's your brand and what people are know you for. And then you interviewed
Others.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really deliberate. Again, looking at what is possible and can I do this? And you're doing it.
And it wasn't the only interview. I did actually have the luck of having another agent who was local to the market I was looking to build my business in drive me around, and she gave me a list of homes. And as we drove around, she asked me to guess the prices. And to be honest with you, I was not one of those women that sat around staring at real estate all day, thinking I knew everything about real estate. I stared at it all day. I'm not that kind of person in general. I'm just too busy to scroll. As we went through house to house, I was pinpointing the cost of these homes pretty on the money. And that was exciting because it gave me affirmation that I could see value in the right way for the town we were in. We were in Tiburon at the time. And so that felt really good. And we talked about, she actually happened to have 2 boys as well. So we talked about that and the challenge of that. And she also tried to scare me because I think these 2 women really understood that what you described about people thinking that real estate is just this easy peasy thing you just walk into, sign a few lines, and then you collect a fat check is a misconception.
Yeah.
And so that's why the rate of agents who actually make it past 2 years, which is something you shared with me, is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of the fact that I've gotten this far. Yeah.
I also, if anyone's listening and thinking, okay, so what does this have to do with me? If I'm, whatever it is that I'm doing or you're doing as you're listening, it's applying yourself to what it is that you want to actually create in your life, right?
Yes.
And identifying the markers that are really important to you, whether that's your time or your skills or really how you want to make a difference through your work. Those are all really good things to ask yourself questions about, not just when you're entering a career or changing a career, but you're also trying to level up in your same career that you're in.
Yes.
Because those
Always.
same questions apply today
Yes.
as much as they did 10 years ago when you came into business.
That's right.
So how are you doing that for yourself in leveling up? I have seen you, not just from a numbers point of view, when people ask me, how do you know this person has grown? You just met them. Well, we leave a space with an imprint, right? There's a way to read a person. And I can tell that you have grown your business and I would even say yourself in the way that you are interacting at Engel Völkers. How do you do that? Why is that important to you to focus on growth and change and challenge in that way?
Ultimately, so I'm joyful.
I'm telling you, even if I had to fill in that blank every time I ask a question, I would never know the word that what the other person would say to me.
Yes.
So tell me what that means to you.
I think that for me, when I'm in a place where I'm grateful that I have that client, not always the easiest client, but how can I be grateful for having that client? It's for what I'm learning. It's for how that person is sharpening my skills. It's for how they're making me rise to the occasion. And so when I have a place where I get to show up every single day and know that I am living out how I want to be on the scene, it really brings me joy. Even when it comes to interacting with my family, that I've managed my organization of my time, my energy, my money, as well as just the organization of my real estate business in a way that when it's time to be around my family, I'm present. And that brings me joy. And then I want to get up the next day and do it all over again.
That's amazing. So it's you're describing rhythm, right?
Yes, definitely.
That's what you're describing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when I raised my babies, the first thing I thought about was what kind of rhythm am I going to get them into?
And it's so interesting because as women in business, we're often confronted with just hyperbole. I think watered down sentiments and expectations of work-life balance. You hear that stuff a lot. And even like authenticity and having joy and gratitude. And if you don't define that for yourself, just like you're giving your clients that list of words with their definition, when you don't take the time to sit down, what does it mean to me to be successful? What does it mean to me to have joy? What do those things actually mean? And how will I be able to tell that it's happening? If you don't do that bit, that work ongoingly, you were just chasing this idea of work-life balance, of all of those words and things that we're supposed to be doing. You're really just showing it by example to your family and to your kids and to your clients. Here's the container. Here's how I'm going to show up. This is what you can count on from me. Yes. And this is what you're going to know for sure I'm going to be known for.
That's right. And I tell them, especially with a buyer, I'm going to match your cadence with my cadence. So if you want to call me once a week to look at a house, then you call me once a week to look. If you want to text me every day, 3 times a day about your house search, then I will respond every day, 3 times a day. And so it's the same with the seller. Sometimes I have sellers who we get that listing agreement signed and all of a sudden they disappear for a week or 2.
Wow.
Because they're scared.
Yeah.
They don't really want to move. They don't really want to sell. And it's hard even when you want to. So then really myself matching that, okay, I already know that I'm not hearing from them because there's a part of them that doesn't want to unpack or pack or get rid of or whatever the things that we talked about. So I also try to layer in each of the next steps for them in a way that's going to fit what I'm sensing they can even hold on to, that they have the capacity to go, okay, this is my next step. Okay, great. I can some of my clients can handle the laundry list of 20 things and others are like, let me do these 2 things and then I'll get back to you. Yeah.
So it's like navigating, again, their wants, needs, desires, their specific situation. You know, there's often what goes with buying and selling a home can often be big life events.
That's right.
Things that we know are happening. We always think they happen to everybody else.
Yeah.
And then they're happening to us. They're happening to our clients. And so you have to walk with them through whatever the circumstances are. And it's so fun to watch. And it's also humbling, I think, which is I think that's huge in business, to recognize truly no 2 situations are alike.
That's right. And that's what appealed to me about the business, actually. I didn't want to do the same thing every day in and out. I wanted to have new challenge or just excitement or solve that next problem. I like to solve the problems.
It's very interesting. Yeah, you have problems and you solve them. And then in this industry, we often hear things like values that are important, like honesty, right? And again, a definition would be really helpful when people use those words. But what inspires me about working with you and around you is this idea that you are a truth teller.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we think honesty and truth are the same, and they're not really at all the same word. But telling the truth about where a client is or where you are with a certain transaction, and then again managing those other players and being really truthful about what the expectations are, what the needs are, what the circumstances might be. There's all of these factors play a role.
People and their lives are at the heart of all of this, however you want to dress it up. Right. The TV shows and all that do a really great job of making it seem so glamorous. But usually the people experiencing the situation, with the exception of investors, but even investors are stressed out.
Yeah.
So that's not super glamorous. Usually
No.
we don't see being stressed out as super glamorous.
No.
And sure, they might have many investments, and so it's not necessarily the same stress level as somebody who has one investment. But I think it's important to really make sure that there's the people at the heart of the transaction are not forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that often in our shops. It's not at all ever about the transaction. If you want to be good at a transaction and think that you're going to be good at real estate, that's not the same thing. And you're likely not going to find or create success for yourself or anyone else around you.
Yeah.
And I think that is a remarkable difference. I think at Engel Völkers, like globally, as a brand and as a company, a global company, but it really comes down and points all the way down to then the individual advisor and the advisors in our ecosystem who find success, whether they're new in business or are making a transition to our brand. Really do I see that they explore what they want to see themselves as in the brand and how they want to build that out and the service they want to offer. And you're doing that. It's so exciting to watch.
Thank you.
I want to fast forward to 3 and 5 years from now.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself?
I guess I didn't think about that before I came on here. Let's think. I can only think about myself in relation to my children.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a son who's hopefully 1 year away from graduating, wherever he goes to school. No, 3 years from now. In my business, my hope is that everyone I know today that has trusted me and puts their faith in me as their real estate agent will continue to be in my life. I once had someone tell me, Haven, you can't have every single one of your clients become your friend. And I was so insulted.
Yeah.
Because we spend so much time in our work
doing
what we do. And so to have those people who you just spent an intense 30 days with, sometimes an intense year with, you hope that they do get to be in your life in one way or another.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that everybody can't come for Sunday dinner for the rest of my life. That would be impossible. So I hope that in 3 years, not only have I sustained those clients, but that maybe I've multiplied them by 2 or 3-fold, and yet they don't feel it.
They don't know that you won't come on and say, I 3X'd. You will say, I have more friends.
I have more friends.
I have more friends.
Yeah.
And before we end, I want to say something because I noticed what came to your mind first, and that hesitation. Yeah, you in relationship to your children. I bet that if there were a way to peel back all the layers and see what you've achieved in your life, the woman that you are and the woman you're still becoming has been in great relation to your North Stars, which is your boys and your husband, your family.
My dog.
And your dog. Yes, I have one of those too. A dog that has become my North Star. It's truly a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
I would want the whole world to know that you are just a treasure and a gift to us at Engel Völkers, especially in Sonoma County.
Thank you.
Because you bring just seamlessly, you raise the bar. And don't ever stop doing that.
Okay.
Always challenge us and me specifically. And I cannot wait to see where you'll be in 3 years from now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's make an agreement that we'll be there together.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you for your time, Haven.
Thank
I appreciate you.